What happens when a movie about the Xhosa culture you deeply love makes you the focus of people's hatred? My guest on Under the Skin is Nakhane, singer and star of the much-talked-about film Inxeba, The Wound. Nakhane, welcome to Under the Skin. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much.
Your film Inxeba, The Wound caused dismay from some people, violent reactions from others. Did it make you defiant or did it make you sad?
I suppose that maybe a dollop of both, but mostly defiance because I come from a very defiant family. And I am just, by default, a defiant person. So on one level, I think maybe I knew why I was involved in the film. And I knew that there would be some level of derision. So I was ready for it to happen. And so when it did happen, I wasn't that surprised.
The setting of the film is a Xhosa initiation, uwaluko. Two men in that setting are involved in a relationship, a romantic sexual relationship. When you just knew you were going into this film, I've heard you say that you expected it to be polarizing. You didn't expect the response, though, to be violent.
I think I expect all art to be polarizing.
Yes.
I think if it's not, then it's just, I would say, a chair. Then it's just craft. You know, everyone sits in a chair. They don't have to like it, right? Whereas art needs to sort of draw out something a little bit more in general.
Yes, yes. You've got much more.
Yeah, exactly. That's my duty as an artist, to draw something out of you, you know.
When the film was classified as basically pornography that could only be accessed through adult shops, you had a moment where on Instagram you said this: I effing refuse to live in shame for your patriarchy to keep living. And then you said this: I'm an Xhosa and I don't know what to do with what I love but doesn't love me, which brings me back to my question about defiance and sadness, because there's both in those two sentences, isn't there?
I watched this documentary with Joni Mitchell where she was talking about where she wrote and released the album Blue. And a lot of people felt like she had exposed herself too much. And she was asking, what is it that I've exposed? That people are sad, that people are happy, etc., etc., all these sort of human conditions. And she didn't understand what the big hoo-ha was about, because all human beings feel these emotions, right?
Yes.
So shame, happiness, defiance, sadness. I'm not ashamed to share those feelings and to show that I feel those as a human being and as an artist in general.
But you're saying, here's something I love, and we're going to talk about the roots of that love in a moment. Here's something I love that doesn't love me back. That sounds pretty painful.
I'm used to it. As a queer person, you get used to it very early in your life. You get used to being, you're always living on the defensive.
Yes.
You know, there's always someone who's going to say something about you around the corner. So whether you are with your family or with your friends, and maybe you haven't come out yet, there's still some level of defense that you always have to put yourself through. And you always have to ready yourself for the lack of love.
When you made Inxeba, you revisited something in your own life when you were 20, and in your novel, Piggy Boys Blues, you said this about your own experience of uwaluko. I'm going to read it.
It's a novel.
Okay. So let me read it anyway, and we'll get to which part of the novel is you and not. You said of going to the mountain yourself, I wish someone had shown me the beauty of it. I wish someone had shown how transformative that experience could have been had I allowed it the opportunity. They did. I did not listen. The film also celebrates this ritual in some very, very beautiful and poignant shots. How does that feel for you, that this is something that you wanted to treasure, but somehow has again become a battleground?
I do treasure it, you know. I've been thinking about this a lot recently, this whole idea of love and loving people.
Yes.
And love being something that's started to become a little bit transactional. Mm-hmm. So if you love somebody, we expect them to love us back. But your love for somebody has nothing to do with their love for you, mm-hmm. right? So just because it's my culture and I love it, and I love the people who are involved in the culture, including myself,
yes,
a practitioner of the culture, both spiritually and practically and culturally. I choose to love it. If it doesn't love me, that has nothing to do with anything. There's nothing to do with them. I can choose not to love it.
Yes.
I can practice not loving it. I can unlearn it if I need to. At the moment, I don't want to.
Nakhane, did you at any point in the storm around Inxeba have an opportunity to talk to people who were angry, but not so angry that they were threatening to kill you? And if you did have those conversations, how did they go?
You know, memory is really tricky.
Yes.
And I'm actually reading a book of memory right now. And sometimes memory you only remember the parts that are extreme.
Yes.
But I do remember speaking with certain friends who were like, I'm not quite sure.
Yes.
This maybe was not the best decision for you to make. And I said, well, maybe you should watch the film and make a decision afterwards.
So they hadn't watched the film at the point they were
Most
talking.
people hadn't watched the film before they made their minds up about the film.
Yes.
And then they watched the film and they realized that it wasn't really what they thought it was. A lot of people thought that the film was an expose, as if that hadn't been done before. You know, if it was an expose, I wouldn't have been part of it, because that's just what. This is polemic, and it's just you want attention. That's not what I got involved in this film for, you know.
I found, because I had conversations with people who were opposing the film, traditional leaders and others, and their threshold for what was depicted was set, let's just say, very low in this sense, that they were saying not only that you depicted relationships, sexual relationships between men, but you depicted drinking, which they insisted never went on. You depicted young men talking about women in lascivious ways, in sexual ways that young men do. They said that doesn't go on either. What's that all about, and how do we as a society deal with those polar opposite views?
It's interesting to me that people can only use their experiences as truth.
Yes.
You know, so because it didn't happen to me and didn't happen around me, then it didn't happen. And whether it happened to you or what happened around you does not matter. Because I'm a man and I'm the leader of this particular rite of passage. What I say goes. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with the erasure of other people's experiences. I have a problem of the erasure of just other people in general. I'm going to repeat what I said earlier on and say that I love this culture. I love being Xhosa. I sometimes even call myself a problematic Xhosa because Xhosa people love themselves.
Yes.
You know, so why would I do something to, I don't know, misrepresent who we are? Just because you love something or someone doesn't mean that you can't call them out on being problematic and not see them for being nuanced, flawed human beings. Cultures are created by human beings, flawed human beings. So the cultures are going to be flawed as well. And we have to look at that, you know, trying to better ourselves as human beings.